30 to 50%. That's how many Americans on blood pressure medication still can't get their numbers down. Not because the medication is wrong, but because something silent is harming you night after night. The American Heart Association has documented it. Most doctors will never bring it up in a 15-minute appointment. If you're over 50 and your numbers won't budge, the answer may be hiding in the hours you thought didn't matter. So now, let's talk about something that affects nearly a third of American adults after 50. And it has a direct link to your blood pressure. In 2022, the American Heart Association updated its official list of what it calls Life's Essential 8, the 8 most important factors for heart health. And for the first time ever, they added a brand new item to that list. Sleep duration? That change didn't happen on a whim. The evidence had simply become impossible to ignore. Research published in Hypertension, the AHA's own medical journal, shows that adults who consistently sleep less than 6 hours a night have a much higher risk of developing high blood pressure. And when they already have it, it tends to be a lot harder to control. Here's what makes this so important for anyone past 50. Your sleep starts changing in ways you may not have noticed. You wake up earlier. You sleep less deeply. You get up more times during the night. It all feels normal for my age. But it may be keeping your blood pressure on red alert during the very hours that should be giving your heart a break. In this video, you'll find out exactly how this connection works, which signs mean your sleep is hurting your blood pressure, why it gets worse with age, and most importantly, what you can start doing about it today. To understand this connection, we need to talk about something your body does every night without you noticing. The nightly drop in blood pressure. In a healthy person, when you fall asleep, your blood pressure drops between 10 and 20% compared to your daytime numbers. Doctors call this nocturnal dipping. And according to the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, it's a natural rest period your cardiovascular system takes after a long day. Think of your heart like an engine that ran hard all day. At night, it slows down, cools off, recovers. That cooling off period is what protects your arteries from constant wear and tear. Without it, it's like driving a car 24 hours a day without ever shutting off the engine. But in millions of adults over 50, that nightly drop just doesn't happen the way it should. Blood pressure stays high all night long. Doctors call these patients non-dippers. And here's the part that worries cardiologists. Being a non-dipper is linked to higher rates of heart attack, stroke, and cardiovascular death, even when your daytime numbers look fine. Why does this happen? It comes back to something called the sympathetic nervous system, the part of your nervous system in charge of the fight or flight response. During deep quality sleep, that system powers down. But when your sleep is fragmented, shallow, or just too short, it stays switched on even while you're lying in bed. It's like trying to relax with an alarm going off in the background. Your blood vessels stay constricted. Your heart beats harder than it should. And cortisol, the stress hormone, stays elevated through the early morning hours, exactly when it should be at its lowest. Harvard Health Publishing has documented this pattern in detail. And this is where age enters the story. After 50, several things change in your brain and glands that directly affect sleep. The pineal gland is a tiny structure deep in the brain that makes melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep. And it produces less and less of it as you age. The National Institute on Aging points out that by 60, a person may be producing less than half the melatonin they made at 20. The result? The chemical signal saying, "Time for deep sleep," arrives much weaker than it used to. On top of that, your circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock, shifts earlier with age. That's why so many people past 50 wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning and can't get back to sleep. It's not insomnia in the traditional sense. It's your biological clock readjusting, and often readjusting poorly. At the same time, deep slow wave sleep, the most restorative stage, naturally shrinks. You could be spending 8 hours in bed and still only get the equivalent of 5 hours of truly restorative sleep. But there's something we haven't talked about yet, and it may be the most underestimated factor for your blood pressure after 50. You could be doing this every single night without realizing it, sabotaging your sleep and your blood pressure at the same time. Let's get into what it is and what you can start changing tonight. Before we get into the action steps, one quick note. Every study, every statistic, every source I'm walking you through in this video. The full links are sitting in the description below. The American Heart Association statement on Life's Essential 8, the Mayo Clinic article on sleep apnea and blood pressure, the NHLBI sleep guidelines, the Harvard Health research on sleep and aging. They're all down there. Because on this channel, we always back what we say with real medicine and real evidence. Now, what to do? Here are 6 concrete steps based on the recommendations of the leading American medical centers to improve the quality of your sleep, and with it, your blood pressure. 1. Keep a consistent bedtime and wake time 7 days a week. This sounds simple, but it's probably the most powerful one on the list. The Cleveland Clinic and the National Sleep Foundation both stress that your body learns through repetition. If you go to bed at 11 and get up at 6 during the week, then sleep until 9 on weekends, you're essentially giving yourself jet lag every Monday morning. Try to keep the same window, even on Saturdays and Sundays. The ideal difference is no more than an hour between weekdays and weekends. 2. Keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. Sleep specialists recommend a room temperature around 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 18 Celsius. It might sound a little cold, but your body sleeps better when it has to warm up slightly under the covers. And dark means really dark. Even faint light interferes with melatonin production. Blackout curtains or a sleep mask can be a game changer. 3. Cut off caffeine after lunch. The half-life of caffeine in your body is about 5 hours. But after 50, that number goes up. The Mayo Clinic notes that the cup of coffee you grab at 3 in the afternoon may still be active in your system at 10 at night. Even if you fall asleep, the quality of that sleep gets wrecked. If you love coffee, enjoy it in the morning and through midday. Then switch to water or decaf. 4. Go easy on the alcohol, especially close to bedtime. A lot of people think a glass of wine helps them sleep. It's true that it helps you fall asleep, but it completely fragments the back half of the night. Harvard Health has reported again and again that alcohol cuts down on REM sleep and triggers more awakenings, especially in older adults. If you're going to drink, try to finish at least 3 hours before bed. 5. Get morning sunlight, ideally within the first hour of waking up. This sounds unrelated to sleep, but it's one of the best documented sleep habits we have. Morning light resets your circadian rhythm and pushes your melatonin production into the right time slot. Nighttime. The NIH points out that even 10 to 15 minutes of natural light in the morning makes a real difference. If you live somewhere with brutal winters, a light therapy lamp is a reasonable substitute. 6. Power down screens at least an hour before bed. The light from phones, tablets, and televisions tells your brain it's still daytime, which shuts down melatonin production. And the content itself, the news, social media, email, fires up your sympathetic nervous system, the very system that needs to switch off so your blood pressure can dip at night. Researchers at Harvard Medical School's Division of Sleep Medicine have been making this case for years. If reading before bed is part of your wind down, stick with a real paper book or an e-reader without backlighting. And there's one more thing that might be more important than everything we've talked about so far. If you're sleeping but waking up exhausted, or if your blood pressure won't come down despite the medication, there may be something silent happening in your nights, something you need to identify and treat. There's a condition called obstructive sleep apnea that affects a huge portion of adults over 50. and most of them don't know they have it. The American Heart Association estimates that 30 to 50% of people whose blood pressure resists treatment actually have undiagnosed sleep apnea. Leaving it untreated means your blood pressure may never fully come down, no matter how much medication you're taking. The mechanism is simple and brutal. During apnea, breathing stops for seconds at a time. Oxygen drops. Your body goes into physiological panic, and your blood pressure spikes over and over all night long. It's like getting hit with dozens of tiny adrenaline shots while you sleep. The signs worth bringing up with your doctor. Loud, regular snoring, especially with breathing pauses your partner has noticed. Waking up gasping or feeling out of breath. Heavy daytime fatigue, even when you got what feels like enough sleep. Morning headaches, especially the recurring kind. Blood pressure that won't come down despite taking your medication correctly. Waking up 3 or more times a night with no clear reason. If any of those sound familiar, ask your doctor about a sleep study. A lot of them can be done at home now with a small device. Getting apnea diagnosed and treated can completely change how well your blood pressure responds to treatment. One important point I want to make: don't stop any blood pressure medication on your own based on this video. Even if you improve your sleep and see your numbers drop, any change to your medication needs to come from your doctor, never on your own. And one more thing. Sleeping pills, especially some of the prescription ones, can have paradoxical effects in adults over 65. Certain sedatives actually worsen sleep fragmentation instead of fixing it. And they raise the risk of nighttime falls. The American Geriatric Society includes them in its Beers criteria, a well-known list of medications that often do more harm than good for older adults. Talk to your doctor before starting anything to help you sleep, including over-the-counter options like melatonin, which a lot of Americans treat like candy without realizing it's still a hormone. If you take only 3 things away from this video, here's what I'd want you to remember. First, your blood pressure needs to come down while you sleep. That nightly dip is a fundamental protection, and it depends entirely on quality sleep. Second, after 50, your sleep changes, and that change may be quietly sabotaging your cardiovascular system. Consistent timing, a cool, dark room, morning sun, less caffeine, and less screen time at night. Those are the pillars. Third, if your sleep is consistently bad, or if you snore loudly, it's worth having a real conversation with your doctor about sleep apnea. Treating that condition often resolves blood pressure problems that seemed untreatable. You don't need any product, any miracle supplement, any overpromised cure. You need sleep, real sleep. And your heart, your brain, and your quality of life will all thank you. If this video helped you understand the connection between your sleep and your blood pressure, consider subscribing to Health HQ 50+. Our promise here is simple: information that's always built on real science, never on miracle claims. In our next video, we're going to look at the heart tests every adult over 60 should consider. Which ones are worth the money? And which ones are just industry overhype? Until then, sleep well.